Take a deep breath and allow yourself to settle into this moment. There is nowhere you need to be, nothing you need to fix, nothing you need to figure out right now. Just listen. And if any part of this story feels familiar, know that you are not alone. There was a time in my life when I believed that someone would eventually come and save me. Not a superhero, not a miracle, just someone. Someone who would see how tired I was. Someone who would notice how much I was struggling. Someone who would say, "Let me help you." At that time, I had just become a mother for the first time. Everyone talks about the joy of having a baby. And yes, there was joy. There was love. There were moments when I looked at my child and felt my heart overflow. But there was also something else. Something few people talk about. Loneliness. A loneliness so deep that it seemed to echo through every corner of my life. My body had not yet recovered. I was exhausted, sleep-deprived, emotionally overwhelmed. Every day felt like a mountain. Every night felt endless. My husband worked far from home. He only came back on weekends. Most of the time, it was just me and my baby. Day after day, night after night. I remember sitting on the edge of the bed in the middle of the night, holding my crying baby, trying not to cry myself, looking out into the darkness and wondering how I was going to make it through another day. What I needed was so small, or at least it seemed small. I needed someone to hold the baby for 30 minutes so I could sleep. I needed someone to ask, "How are you doing?" I needed someone to tell me, "You're doing a good job." But those things never came. My mother lived only a few kilometers away, close enough to visit, close enough to help, close enough to see me, but she rarely came, rarely called, rarely asked how I was. I don't tell you this to blame her. I tell you this because it was my reality. And reality has a way of teaching lessons we never expected to learn. At the time, though, it hurt. It hurt more than I could explain. Because when we are struggling, we naturally look toward the people we believe will be there for us. And when they aren't, the pain cuts deeper. I kept waiting, waiting for support, waiting for understanding, waiting for someone to notice, waiting for someone to rescue me from the exhaustion I was drowning in. But no one came. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. And slowly, something inside me began to break. I was physically exhausted. But what hurt even more was the emotional exhaustion. The feeling that no one truly saw me. No one truly understood. No one truly knew how hard I was trying. I smiled when I needed to. I took care of my baby. I did what had to be done. But inside, I was falling apart. Some mornings I woke up already tired. Some mornings I wished I could stay in bed. Some mornings I felt like I had nothing left to give. And then came the guilt. Because mothers aren't supposed to feel this way. At least, that's what I believed. I should be strong every moment. I thought I should be happy every moment. So when I wasn't, I blamed myself. Maybe I'm not strong enough. Maybe I'm not a good mother. Maybe there's something wrong with me. Those thoughts became heavier and heavier until eventually, the darkness settled in. I didn't know it then, but I was slipping into depression. Not the kind people see in movies. Not dramatic, not obvious. Just a quiet darkness. A heaviness that followed me everywhere. A feeling that life had lost its color. A feeling that I was carrying the weight of the world alone. And still, I kept waiting. Waiting for someone to save me. Waiting for someone to come and make things easier. Waiting for someone to tell me everything would be okay. But no one came. And for a long time, I believed that was the tragedy. I believed that was the saddest part of my story. I believed I had been abandoned, forgotten, left behind. What I didn't know then was that this would become the beginning of my awakening. Because sometimes life removes every person you think you need, so you can discover the strength you already have. Sometimes life becomes unbearably quiet, so you can finally hear your own voice. And sometimes, the moment no one comes to save you is the moment you begin to save yourself. That realization did not arrive all at once. It came slowly, like the first light before sunrise, almost invisible at first, but impossible to stop once it appeared. And that light would change everything. For a long time, I thought strength meant never breaking, never crying, never admitting that I was struggling. I thought strong people carried everything alone. I thought strong people kept going no matter how much pain they felt. But eventually, life brought me to a place where I simply couldn't pretend anymore. I was exhausted, not just physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally. I had spent so much energy hoping someone would understand me, hoping someone would see me, hoping someone would step in and make things easier. And every time it didn't happen, the disappointment grew. One day, I found myself sitting quietly after my baby had finally fallen asleep. The house was silent. For the first time all day, there was no crying, no dishes, no responsibilities demanding my attention, just silence. And in that silence, a question appeared in my mind. A simple question, but one that would change everything. How long are you going to wait? How long are you going to wait for someone else to make you feel loved? How long are you going to wait for someone else to understand your pain? How long are you going to wait for someone else to give you permission to be happy? I didn't have an answer, because the truth was, I had been waiting my entire life. Waiting for approval, waiting for validation, waiting for understanding. Waiting for people to treat me the way I wanted to be treated. And without realizing it, I had handed over my happiness to other people. I had given them the keys. If they loved me, I felt worthy. If they appreciated me, I felt valuable. If they supported me, I felt safe. But if they didn't, everything fell apart. That realization hit me hard, because suddenly I could see what was happening. I wasn't suffering only because people had disappointed me. I was suffering because I had built my happiness on things I could not control. Other people's choices, other people's attention, other people's approval, and those things are fragile. The truth is, people are human. They have their own struggles, their own limitations, their own wounds. Some people simply cannot give us what we need, not because they don't love us, but because they don't know how. Others are so busy carrying their own pain that they never notice ours. And some people will never become who we wish they were. That realization hurt, but it was also strangely freeing. Because for the first time, I stopped asking, why isn't anyone helping me? And I started asking, what can I do for myself? The shift was small, almost invisible, but it changed everything. Instead of waiting for someone to comfort me, I began learning how to comfort myself. Instead of waiting for someone to tell me I mattered, I began reminding myself. Instead of waiting for someone to rescue me, I began becoming my own rescue. At first, it felt unnatural, almost selfish. I had spent so much of my life taking care of others, thinking about others, putting others first. I didn't even know how to care for myself. But little by little, I learned. I learned that resting is not weakness. I learned that asking for space is not selfish. I learned that protecting my peace is not something I need to apologize for. And perhaps most importantly, I learned that loving myself is not a reward I earn after suffering. It is something I deserve simply because I exist. For years, I had been searching for love outside myself, but the person who needed my love the most was standing right in front of me the entire time. Me, the tired woman, the overwhelmed mother, the lonely soul who had been carrying so much pain. She needed kindness, not criticism. She needed compassion, not judgment. She needed someone to say, "You've been through a lot. You are doing the best you can. You deserve love too." And one day, I realized something beautiful. I could be that person. I could be the one who finally stood beside myself, the one who refused to abandon myself, the one who chose love over self-criticism, the one who chose healing over resentment. And as that happened, something inside me began to soften. The anger started fading. The resentment started fading. The need for other people to change started fading because I finally understood something. Peace does not come from controlling other people. Peace comes from learning what belongs to you and what does not. People will say things. People will misunderstand you. People will disappoint you. People will project their fears onto you, their anger, their negativity, their pain. And for most of my life, I accepted all of it. I carried it. I absorbed it. I made it my burden until one day I saw it differently. Imagine someone walks up to you carrying a bag of garbage and they try to hand it to you. Do you have to take it? No, of course not. Then why do we do that emotionally? Why do we accept every criticism, every judgment, every negative opinion, every hurtful word? Why do we carry emotional garbage that was never ours to begin with? That question changed my life because I finally understood. People can throw trash, but I don't have to bring it home. People can criticize me, but I don't have to believe them. People can misunderstand me, but I don't have to lose myself trying to explain everything. People can choose how they behave, but I can choose what I allow into my heart. And that realization felt like freedom. Real freedom. Not freedom from problems. Not freedom from pain. But freedom from carrying pain that never belonged to me. And that was the beginning of a completely new life. For a long time, I looked back at that chapter of my life with sadness. I saw the loneliness, the exhaustion, the tears, the disappointment. I saw everything I had lost. But as the years passed, something unexpected happened. My perspective began to change. I started seeing those difficult days differently, not as a punishment, but as a teacher. Because the truth is, some of the greatest lessons in my life arrived disguised as pain. At the time, I couldn't see it. When I was crying in the middle of the night, I couldn't see it. When I felt abandoned, I couldn't see it. When I was desperately wishing someone would come and help me, I couldn't see it. But looking back now, I understand. Those dark days were not destroying me. They were revealing me. They were showing me strengths I never knew I had. They were introducing me to a version of myself that had been hidden for years. A stronger version, a wiser version, a more compassionate version. A version of me that would eventually learn how to stand on her own feet. And perhaps most importantly, a version of me that would finally learn how to love herself. Today, when I think about those painful years, I no longer feel anger. I no longer feel resentment. I no longer spend my energy wishing things had happened differently. Because if they had, I might never have discovered who I truly am. If someone had rescued me, perhaps I would never have learned how strong I really was. If life had been easier, perhaps I would never have found the courage that was quietly growing inside me. If everyone had given me exactly what I wanted, perhaps I would never have learned how to give those things to myself. And that is why, as strange as it sounds, I am grateful. Grateful for the struggles. Grateful for the loneliness. Grateful for the challenges. Grateful even for the people who disappointed me. Because every experience, every heartbreak, every difficult season led me here. And here, I finally found peace. Not because life became perfect. Life is still life. There are still challenges, still uncertainties, still difficult days. But something inside me has changed forever. I no longer wait for someone else to create my happiness. I no longer wait for someone else to tell me my worth. I no longer wait for someone else to save me, because now I know something I didn't know back then. Everything I was searching for outside myself was already within me. The strength, the courage, the love, the wisdom, the light. It was all there, waiting patiently for me to discover it. And maybe, just maybe, that is why no one came to save me. Because life was trying to show me that I was never as powerless as I believed. Life was trying to introduce me to myself. And that became the greatest gift I have ever received. If you are listening to this right now and your life feels heavy, if you feel exhausted, if you feel alone, if you feel forgotten, if you feel like no one understands what you're carrying, I want you to know something. You are not alone. You are not broken. And you are far stronger than you realize. I know it may not feel that way today. I know there may be moments when you question whether you can keep going. I know there may be nights when the darkness feels endless. But please, keep going. One breath at a time. One day at a time. One small step at a time. Because there is a version of you waiting on the other side of this pain. A stronger version, a wiser version, a more peaceful version. And one day, you may look back at this chapter of your life the same way I do now. Not with bitterness, not with regret, but with gratitude. Because it helped you become who you were meant to be. Before I leave you tonight, there is something I want to say. Something I wish someone had said to me during my darkest days. You matter. Your life matters. Your story matters. Your heart matters. And even if it doesn't feel like it right now, you are loved. Deeply loved. More than you know. I am sending you my love. I am sending you my prayers, and I sincerely hope that beautiful things find their way into your life. May peace find you. May healing find you. May hope find you. May you discover your own strength. May you discover your own light. And may you one day realize that the person you have been searching for has been within you all along. Thank you for being here. Take a deep breath. Be gentle with yourself. And remember, you are stronger than you think. You are braver than you know. And no matter what you're facing tonight, you do not walk this path alone. I believe in you. And from the bottom of my heart, I love you. Good night.